Welcome to the video on how to use a web map service to estimate tree foliage. Tree foliage heights are used by the heat stress overlay. First, we add a digital terrain model overlay, which can be based on our current height map. To add a digital terrain model, hover over Overlays in the ribbon bar. And under Add New, hover Topology and select Digital Terrain Model. This adds a digital terrain model overlay ready for use. Secondly, we need a digital surface model overlay. This overlay should contain the height of objects on the surface, including trees. Since our project does not contain trees, we will use a web coverage service to obtain tree heights. To add a web coverage service overlay, hover over Overlays in the ribbon bar. And hover Geodata under Add New and select WCS. Once selected, name it WCS Overlay. And click on the Configuration Wizard button. Once the wizard is ready, select Next. In this step, we will use the Import a Web Coverage Service option and click Next. In this step, we choose an existing source that represents a digital surface model, for example the Dutch AHN4. When you have a different source, you can select the Add option and provide the web link to that service. We now select Next to continue. In this step, we select a layer with enough detail that represents the digital surface model. Therefore, we select DSM-05, which has an accuracy of 0.5 meter. Select Next to continue. In this final step, we have to select how to deal with missing data. We will use the option Nearest and select Finish. We now have two height overlays that we can subtract to obtain a tree height. Next, we need to add an overlay that can be used to identify the location of trees. For this, we will add an Web Map Service overlay for infrared images. Hover over Overlays in the ribbon bar. And hover over Geodata under Add New and select WMS. Once selected, name it Infrared Overlay. And click on the Configuration Wizard. Once the wizard is ready, click Next. Again, we select the first option to import from a web service and click Next. In this step, we select the infrared source, which is already added to projects by default. If you have your own source, you can add it by selecting the second option. Click Next to continue. In this step, we can select a layer, which for this source corresponds to a particular year. The layer should be at least as recent as the digital surface model source. We select 2023 and click Next to continue. In this final step, we will select the red, blue, and green result types, such that we can create a color filter overlay to identify trees and their foliage. Click Finish to confirm and close the wizard. Now that we have added all these overlays, we can construct a foliage filter overlay. We will use a combo overlay to perform this filter. To add a combo overlay, hover over Overlays. And under Add New, hover over Grid Calculation and select Combo. Once selected, name this overlay Tree Filter. Next, click on the Grid Overlay choice box and select Infrared Red Channel. For Grid Overlay B, select Infrared Green Channel. For Grid Overlay C, select Infrared Blue Channel. Next, click on the Enlarge link next to Formula. And type the following formula. A should be larger than 110. Both B and C should be between 0 and 120. And A is larger than both B and C. Please note that this is just an example for a filter function, so feel free to improve it. Click Save to continue. Now that we have added a filter overlay for foliage, we will have to create a second overlay that calculates the tree heights. We will add a second combo overlay. Once added, change its name to Custom Foliage Height. For Grid Overlay A, select Tree Filter. For Grid Overlay B, select the WCS overlay. For Grid Overlay C, select the Height Map overlay. Next, click on the Enlarge link again to open the Formula panel. And provide the following formula. If our filter overlay, A, has a value larger than 0, and the height difference, which is calculated as the WCS overlay, B, minus the height map overlay, C, is larger than 2 meters, use that height. Otherwise, the height is 0. Click on the Save button to store the formula. Next, click on the Calculate link to update the overlays. Once calculated, select the Tree Filter overlay. The overlay does not yet visualize properly. Select the Legend tab in the Overlays Detail panel. In this tab, select the Has Custom Legend option. Next, select the max entry and change its value to 1. The tree filter can now be inspected properly. Next, select the Custom Foliage Height overlay. Again, we will adjust the legend. Select the Legend tab in the Overlays Detail panel. In the Legend tab, select the Has Custom Legend option. Next, select the max entry and change its value to 20. Select or add a new entry named Min and change its value to 2. Add a new entry named Med and change its value to 8. Finally, select or add a new entry named None and change its value to 0. The foliage height should now be properly visualized. You can see the foliage height coverage might be smaller than expected. This is mainly because the surface height is recorded better for tree trunks than for their branches. We can improve this result by adding additional overlays. This will be explained in a separate video. One last tip when using web service overlays. Since the overlays are not expected to change between calculations, it is advised to deactivate them once they are calculated. Their result will be stored, and calculation time will be significantly lower for future calculations. Select the infrared overlay. And in its detail panel, deselect the option Active in Calculation. You can do the same for the WCS overlay. You now know how to use web coverage and web map service overlays in combination with additional overlays to create an estimate for foliage height.